Carlos Alcaraz didn't just arrive in San Francisco. He stormed into the city carrying an aura that almost no player his age has ever possessed. Because at only 22 years old, he already stands as the second youngest man in history to collect 6 Grand Slam singles trophies, trailing only the legendary Bjorn Borg, and this season has been nothing short of flawless for the Spanish star. A campaign where his growth as a competitor has merged with an unstoppable sense of destiny, from lifting the Cincinnati Masters with blistering speed and creative shot-making to conquering Arthur Ashe Stadium under the New York lights, where he captured the US Open and reclaimed the world #1 ranking. All of it sending one clear message. Carlos Alcaraz is no longer the future of tennis, he is the present, the leader of Team Europe, in the very face of the sport, as he now steps onto the black court of the Laver Cup, ready to prove that his reign has only just begun. The build-up to the Laver Cup could not have been scripted better for Carlos Alcaraz, because after dominating in Cincinnati with that lightning movement and fearless shot-making, he marched straight into New York, where under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium, he outlasted Jannik Sinner in a breathtaking final to seize the US Open, and with that victory, he returned to the #1 spot in the world rankings for the first time in 2 years. But more importantly, he silenced every whisper of doubt and reminded the tennis world that he is not here just to inherit the game, he is here to own it. And with 61 match wins and 7 titles already in 2025, he now enters San Francisco not just as the leader of Team Europe, but as the heartbeat of the entire sport, carrying the weight of history on his shoulders and the expectation that once again, he will deliver when the pressure is highest. On the Tuesday before the first ball was even struck at the Chase Center, the cameras caught a different Carlos Alcaraz. Hair cropped short with a streak of silver that symbolized reinvention and maturity, and when he spoke, his words hit harder than any forehand, confessing that his entire life has been built on sacrifice and relentless work, explaining that every detail matters: how you train, how you recover, how you live away from the court, that there are no shortcuts. Even when your body resists and you don't want to practice, you must give 100%, because that is the price of chasing greatness. And hearing that from a 22-year-old who has already risen from a modest childhood in El Palmar to the pinnacle of global sport resonated as more than just bravado. It felt like a glimpse into the engine of a champion who understands that the road is exhausting, demanding, painful, but also beautiful. And that is the very mindset he now carries into San Francisco as the face of European tennis. Team Europe steps onto the black court in San Francisco with a roster full of talent, but it is Alcaraz who is the gravitational force holding everything together, surrounded by Alexander Zverev, Casper Ruud, Holger Rune, Jakub Mensik, and Flavio Cobolli, each bringing their own weapons and styles. Yet all eyes inevitably drift back to the Spaniard, because when the stakes rise, it is his fire everyone counts on. And even Yannick Noah, the French legend guiding Team Europe in his very first year as captain, admitted it with no hesitation, calling Alcaraz almost perfect for his age, praising his speed, his power, his ability to defend and attack. Forehand and backhand equally lethal, his mental toughness almost unmatched, and most importantly, his joy in embracing the biggest moments. And that evaluation has fueled the growing belief across the tennis world that Alcaraz is not just another star. He is the synthesis of qualities once thought unique to Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal, only now existing together in one unstoppable competitor. When Andre Agassi, captain of Team World, was asked about Alcaraz's rise, his answer came almost like poetry, as he reflected on a generation defined by Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal, and said that if you could take the best qualities of each and combine them into one body, it would look exactly like Carlos Alcaraz. Because he defends with the elastic resilience of Djokovic, he touches the ball with the elegant precision of Federer, and he strikes with the heavy spin and raw intensity of Nadal. But Agassi also pointed out that in all that brilliance lies a hint of risk, because sometimes Alcaraz's creativity burns so bright, it crosses the line into danger, and that is the tiny crack Team World will desperately try to exploit for for they know that breaking through his armor is the only way to finally tilt the balance of power in this competition. For Carlos Alcaraz, those legends were never distant idols but daily guides, because growing up, he studied Nadal's warrior spirit, Federer's elegance, and Djokovic's balance, admitting that when he was 13 or 14, there were countless players better than him, winning more and achieving more. Yet for him, tennis was not a hobby or a dream, it was life itself, and that obsession pushed him to work harder, to sacrifice more, to turn imitation into innovation until his game became something greater than a copy, a hybrid forged from the best of the big three, but infused with his own unpredictability, his ability to break rhythm, improvise on the fly, and play with a joy that makes him impossible to contain. And that is why today he is not viewed as a successor, but as an evolution. A player who carries echoes of greatness, yet stands apart with a style and charisma that belong only to him. As the Laver Cup returns to San Francisco, Alcaraz walks onto the black court with the weight of expectation, but also with the energy of someone who thrives in the spotlight, because fans see Nadal's fire in his fist pumps, Federer's grace in his touch volleys, Djokovic's balance in his counterpunching, yet layered on top is his own youthful charisma that makes every point electric, and memories of his debut just last year in Berlin still linger when he carried Team Europe with 8 points, including a decisive victory over Taylor Fritz that sealed the cup, transforming him from rising star into undisputed leader. And Alcaraz himself admitted it felt strange at first to battle players one week, then call them teammates the next. But he loved the atmosphere, the unity, the friendships off court. And now, as he returns, he embraces that team spirit again, knowing that this time the expectations are higher and the burden heavier, but also that he is ready to shoulder it all. That sense of camaraderie will be tested harder than ever this week, because Team Europe may be loaded with depth, but with that comes the crushing expectation to dominate. And for Alcaraz, it means far more than just winning his own matches. It means guiding young talents like Mensik and Kaboli, backing experienced warriors like Zverev and Ruud, and balancing his own pursuit of perfection with the responsibility of leading the group, while across the net, Andre Agassi is plotting carefully for Team World, relying on the explosive serve of Taylor Fritz, the tireless speed of Alex de Minaur, and the resilience of Francis Tiafoe. Yet all of them understand the same truth, that everything will revolve around one silver-haired Spaniard, because neutralizing Carlos Alcaraz may be the only way they can dream of toppling Europe's empire. The beauty of the Laver Cup is that while it may be labeled an exhibition for Alcaraz, it is something far deeper, because he treasures the chance to bond with teammates, to celebrate and suffer together in ways Grand Slams can never provide, calling it one of his favorite events. Yet, behind that joy lies the bigger narrative of legacy, because he knows his career is already historic, but history remembers not just moments, it remembers dominance over time. And as the undisputed world number one of 2025, with titles in Cincinnati, New York, and now chasing glory in San Francisco, the questions grow louder. How far can he stretch this reign? Can he surpass the unreachable records of the big three? Or will his brilliance burn too bright too quickly? And with every forehand, every return, every fist pump on the black court of the Chase Center, he is not just winning points, he is writing the next chapter of tennis itself, proving that he is no copy of Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic, but an evolution beyond them, a voice of his own, and the player destined to carry the sport into its new era. Since its creation in 2017, the Laver Cup has transformed from a daring experiment into a permanent fixture on the tennis calendar, a stage that survived everything except a pandemic and has now grown into a battleground where Europe and the rest of the world collide every September. And in 2025, the spotlight burns brighter than ever inside San Francisco's Chase Center, where the black court is waiting for its next chapter of history, Europe holding 5 titles to Team World's 2, the Americans fighting to reclaim ground, but all of it swirling around one central figure, because Carlos Alcaraz is no longer just the rising star, he is the centerpiece, the talisman, the one man whose brilliance can tilt the balance of the entire competition. And as he prepares to lead Team Europe once more, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Tennis is entering a new era. The echoes of Federer, Nadal and Djokovic still linger, but the torch has been passed, and now the game belongs to Alcaraz, the young champion who has turned potential into destiny and who stands ready to etch his name alongside the greatest to ever touch a racket.